Hello, everyone. We have gathered today with me, Jelena, and my partner in crime, Paul Moderman, to discuss the upcoming issue of our Boring Enterprise Nerdletter. So, welcome to our creative process. And Paul,
Guys, it's gonna be messy. Oh my gosh.
yeah,
Be ready.
I should probably give adult content warning at this time because I have some I have some subjects for this issue that I feel very strongly about. So
Get some things to get off
yeah.
your chest.
Yeah, and we honestly mark these videos as not meant for children, so please consider
Oh, that's
that.
right.
And yeah,
So I
if
can
might be some rated R stuff going on in
you can
this discussion.
you can
All
say
right.
poop and stuff or
Yeah.
whatever, yeah.
Yeah. All right. So without further
Okay.
ado, Paul,
I'll
I'm
go first
yeah,
this time. Yeah.
yeah, off to
Passing
you.
the old baton to Polly here. All right. So here is what I am thinking about lately. One thing I noticed last couple days, Salesforce dethroned SAP as the world's biggest producer of enterprise apps.
Oh man, I had it on my list like a plan B or something. Okay, man, great
Yeah,
minds think alike. Awesome.
yeah,
Yeah, I
and
saw
we do
that.
too, right? But
Mm-hmm.
there we go. Um, it's one of those things where, like, first of all, just it's like surprising but not, earth shaking but not. I don't know how else to put it. You know what I mean? Like, because like the Salesforce's CEO, or I guess co-CEO now, Mark Benioff, is on record over a year ago saying we're going to overtake SAP in enterprise apps, right?
Mm-hmm.
As far as sales goes. Um, not that what he says has to be true,
Mm-hmm.
but he's on record as having said that. The
Mm-hmm.
numbers were always kind of doing like this, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So it's interesting place to be in as much as I like to sort of be cross technology, cross platform and whatever I do, like a lot of my work is still SAP work. And
Mm-hmm.
so it's really an interesting place to watch news like this happen when, years earlier in my career, it felt like who could possibly do this, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um so there it is. What I want to do is kind of look a little bit deeper into what might explain the that rapid shift or whatever, but really just I want to write about this because it's almost like it reaches back into the past and shakes me up a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Not like right now, but it's like it's kind of almost like this warning that like maybe things will or won't change tomorrow. Who knows?
Mm-hmm.
But in 10 years, about the safest bet is that the world will be a very different place, no matter what you try to predict, right?
Mm-hmm.
So just that kind of perspective on this is like kind of tossing around in my head in this. Who would do that? Oh, Salesforce did it. There we go. You know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's always interesting that this kind of comes out of nowhere. Sometimes you would
Yeah.
think that Microsoft would be that maybe, but I guess not. Yeah, I read this article, maybe not in great detail, but kind of on diagonal. And it stated that this kind of Salesforce win doesn't mean it's SAP's loss. And I think
Yeah.
that's where maybe it's a good perspective to it, because I mean, does Salesforce have ERP systems that can run like giant companies like BMW, or whatever whatever SAP client wants to
Yeah.
sponsor our
Yeah.
content? I mean, does it? It's
Good.
okay. It's
That's a
like
great plug, by the way. Well done.
yeah. So expecting some sponsorship deals very soon. Um, but I mean,
We'll be
just
wearing
just being
BMW
real
shirts
here.
tomorrow. Yeah.
It's like, yeah. I mean, Salesforce like sold more apps. I mean, sure, it's like maybe, I don't know, Aldi like store chain sells like more apples or more bread. Does it mean that, I don't know, like artisanal bakery needs to be concerned, or that
Yeah.
some some larger company needs to be concerned that essentially does also sell bread, but it's not the same bread, really. It's totally different type of bread, and it's not even bread. It's like the whole sandwich. So yeah, I'm kind of I guess I'm hungry at this point.
You kind of touched on one piece of this, which is like, does SAP care? I don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
Like that's
I
the
yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I mean,
So
is like Boeing replacing their SAP ERP system with something that Salesforce created? No, I mean they
yeah.
probably, I bet all of those big SAP customers, they are running both at the same time.
Hmm.
So is this really kind of a competition? So to be honest,
Yeah.
until Salesforce really they are known for their CRM stuff, and they made, I think, some very wise acquisitions and probably snatched some companies under SAP's nose even. But they're not really an ERP company unless they have something going on that we just don't know. That's not public. Um, so yeah, very, very interesting. I just don't
Yeah.
expect like, yeah, Salesforce to run manufacturing process.
Yeah.
So yeah. All
So
right.
there's that.
Yeah.
Second is fundamental. I thought I brought
Ooh.
up the other website for this.
Hmm. Interesting name.
There is Fundamental, the future of front end and design, a
Mm.
conference coming out of SAP stuff. SAP people. Um,
Oh,
so there's new conference
oh,
looking
wow.
to drive the future of front end at SAP,
Wow.
which, yeah, which I think in terms of like I gotta sign up and just see what's going on here, right? Because
Yeah.
I'm very accustomed to living in the UI5 world, living
Mm-hmm.
in the maybe some AppGyver just in terms of looking at stuff, not necessarily that I use AppGyver as a solution for my customers, but I look at stuff. Um, and between low code, no code, between advances in all the other client libraries for mobile and web and stuff like that,
Mm-hmm.
what is the future of front end at SAP? Because for a while we've been kind of living in this Fiori world, Fiori
Mm-hmm.
design guidelines here and stuff. It is this something that is positioning as an alongside evolving thing?
Mm-hmm.
What is the perspective here that calls for this fundamental program and then fundamental conference to talk about it? So I'm very curious to see what's going on here. I'll be looking at like the writers, and there's a call for content. I'll look at that, but there's also
Mm.
a set of folks. Who are the folks? Where did I see the list? Our team. Yeah, there's a set of folks who are doing some of the organization of this, and I'm probably spoiler alert, organizational team. I'm going to online stalk you a little bit and figure out what's going on. um,
Beware.
yeah, beware. Um,
Mm.
and just like I want to like what's going on here? Is this what's next? Is this an evolution of some other things? Like
Mm.
I definitely want to find out because at least for me, Fiori and UI5 were game changers and are game changers for what SAP apps are in terms
Mm.
of custom development. And given the relative success of those things, what is SAP doing to look to the future of that stuff?
Mm-hmm.
And maybe that's this, maybe that's something else. I don't know, but I'm very curious. Very curious.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, honestly, I haven't even heard about it, and now I'm looking at it. The way like fundamental is written everywhere, like with capitalized, and they're talking about fundamental library. Like
Yeah.
what even is this?
These people have some secret
Yes, like
plans
some
to,
like
yeah,
all of a sudden some kind of secret project going on. Very,
yeah,
but I'm also very curious because
yeah,
I think you voiced that opinion before in one of the Nordcasts maybe, that you're kind of getting pretty much done with UI5. And I feel that the SAP has been selling, like Fiori is our UI of choice. But I don't know. I mean, I'm not Fiori UI5 developer myself, but I'm kind of observing
Yeah.
customers getting, I don't know, if not tired of Fiori, then it's kind of it's worn its luster. Let's put it that way. It's
Yeah. And
I
I don't
think that
know, like, yeah. Sorry, go
yeah,
ahead.
I think that the evolution has been a bit slow. So it was maybe cool and I don't know, somewhat as revolutionary as SAP products go, let me put it that way, when
Yeah,
it
for
just
sure.
came out. And I remember it
Yeah.
received some design awards that I'm sure they were well deserved, but it was many years
Yeah.
ago. So now it's like I mean, they made some changes that really should have been there in the first place, like for those faces steps for that organization, that is much more sensible now, and like wider, I don't know, those thingies that used to be just square, now you can may have them other sizes, but
Oh, yeah.
that's like 10 years of evolution, and that's what you came up with. I mean, it's I understand the stability is sometimes good for enterprise apps, but I think that there
Yeah.
comes a point when like, yeah, nice Fiori, but then like, okay, well, what else is out? What else is out there? And is there something that maybe customers would want more than Fiori, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
should
That's
be clear too that like my relative, like, just in case anybody listening to this is of
just
all the
in case.
millions, for all you millions of listeners out there, let me just make clear too, because I did say that I was getting kind of with UI5. It's not because I think UI5 is bad at all. I just like I just feel like I'm ready for the next thing of some kind.
Mm,
And whether that's this, whether that's whatever, whether it's even, low code, no code tools. And there are some low code, no code tools out there that use UI5 as the base layer of the UI that they create things. I mean, obviously Fairy Elements, but also Neptune software, their stuff produces UI5, at least as of the last time I read the documentation for
mm-hmm,
that stuff. Like they use UI5 to produce those UIs that they use their low code editor for. So it's not that the tech is dead. It's just that it's been so long that you just sort of wonder
mm-hmm.
what's in the shop right now, right?
Yeah.
So that's where I'm looking for this, is maybe some pointers on that.
Mm.
And who knows, maybe I'm looking at this the wrong way and it means something else. But I got to read around and find out. That's my
Yeah.
that's my point.
Yeah.
Finally, from my perspective, I've only looked at this from a shallow level, but this is
Mm-hmm.
Odoo. You've probably seen this. This
Mm-hmm.
is open source ERP.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I want to dive deeper and understand how some of its tech works, how some of its pricing works, how custom development and community, all that kind of stuff works. Um, I think I want to keep the focus to one of those things, although I don't know which yet of that stuff. But I want
Mm-hmm.
to understand, what is this? How does this work? Um, what kind of companies are choosing this to
Mm-hmm.
run on? All that kind of stuff. I want that from there, because if there's one part of the world where open source has obviously not cracked in hardly at all, it's ERP.
Mm-hmm.
And to all of us to go from like even SAP, it's been, only until recently that open source has started to crack into various community things that they do. This whole thing is open source. Like,
Mm-hmm.
what's going on here? How does that work? So that's my broad, open-ended, like floating question mark above my head of what's going on here. So it'll have to take a little more shape before I write down, but this is
Mm.
where I want to look at.
Yeah, I saw this one before, but didn't really dig into that. And in general, I like fully support open source software,
Hmm.
and I think we have written a lot about that.
Yeah.
Um, but in some cases, like for example, remember I told you before that I tried to install like video editor that was
Yeah.
like an open source
Hmm.
product and had like great reviews. People were just raving about it and very nice. And so you can suggest a feature, someone is gonna implement this feature. So it sounds like super nice, but I installed it and it just didn't work. It opened up, but it wouldn't it played the video, but I couldn't edit it because it was, quality of video was bad, and it just
Right.
not what I would expect from video editor. And
Yeah.
I never had such problem with any other software. I used a couple of applications for personal use and training to do some short videos. So it seems like a basic feature of your video editor. I mean, it needs to display to show
It needs
video
to
correctly.
not
Yeah.
suck at
Yeah,
that. Yeah.
yeah, that's showing your video so that you can edit it actually. So I kind of reached out. They don't have any like official support. There is some GitHub where you can maybe open an issue, but it wasn't really working. I think they had a community on Reddit or something like that, and I try to reach out there, but they're like, oh, if you have an issue, then you need to provide us like 10,000 documents, like documenting every step that you did and what is your, and you know how SAP likes to do when you open incident, oh, give us like more information, give us like, what is your operating system? What is your enhancement pack? Did you
Yeah.
upgrade to
Yeah.
to the latest enhancement pack? So
Yeah.
stuff like that, it's like, and I'm like, okay, you know what? I'm just going to delete this and I'm just going to install something else because I don't have time for it. It's basic functionalities that I would expect to work. It doesn't, so bye-bye. And I'm kind of wondering, and yeah, I see you're already way ahead of me. So
Yeah.
that would be my main concern with
Yeah.
ERP here. I mean, it's
Mm,
totally cool, probably going to
I'm
work for
very
some small
curious.
companies, but
Very
but
curious.
again, like, is Boeing gonna replace something with like SAP with Odoo?
Yeah.
Likely not in our lifetime.
Doubtful. I
Probably,
doubt Boeing is
yeah,
in their target market right now. Yeah.
yeah. But again, yeah, Odoo is probably not
Look at
targeting
that.
Boeing
Look at
either.
that. They
User
created a
friendly.
fake Gartner quadrant here.
Gartner quadrant. SAP
And
is
look at
there.
that. SAP
So
is on the opposite side.
yes, so
So
low on
Odoo's
user
Odoo's
friendly.
claim is
Oh my
roughly
goodness.
the same business scope,
Oh my
but
goodness.
far less
I
or
mean,
far more user
Magento
friendly.
isn't an ERP system. Neither is really Salesforce or any other of those guys. Slack.
Yeah.
What? Like,
MailChimp? I don't
this
feel
is
like
like
MailChimp is
HTTP versus
yeah.
bananas again. This
Yeah.
this is CRM, so they're comparing CRM. Yeah, I mean SAP CRM is gonna suck definitely. Even business scope is not gonna be that high probably. But this is again CRM is not ERP. Oh my goodness.
There we go.
Holy cow. So yeah, there's a lot of material
So
for
there's
you
material
folders.
to work with here.
Yeah.
So
Oh
that's
my
my stuff.
goodness. Awesome.
I now pass the
All right.
sharing baton to you.
Back over to me. So I have some very controversial, exciting subjects. So I have yeah,
Oh,
I
I
shared
saw this
before I
one.
shared before that I have a list of topics that
Yeah.
I just kind of thinking about it. So I put it in my future plans folder and it
Hmm.
just sits there and sits there and sits there. And at some point I'm like, okay, I think one of them accumulated enough, enough pressure boiled up, and let me just think about it. So agile is such such a huge, like hugely, I think, polarizing sometimes
Yeah.
subject, and there is a lot said and written about it. So I will try to not go on for like 5 pages about it, and rather just provide just a quick overview of what I
A
think of
special
what.
report
Yes,
by
for sure.
Jelena Perfilieva.
Yeah, of what is important, isn't
Mhm.
important, etc. Because there are tons of controversy and just plain misinformation and
Yeah.
misunderstanding, I believe, about
Mhm.
the whole agile. So I'm not gonna like dive any deeper and do it. So I want to avoid spoilers. But agile slash scrum is gonna be my big subject of this newsletter. And
Gear up for some hate mail. Oh my
yeah,
gosh.
yeah. And
Oof.
I honestly, I don't think it's necessarily the failure, but that's going to be the whole point, I guess, that I want to write about. All right, so next one, moving into SAP space, and I have two items that are in part inspired by SAP community blogs in this issue. So I saw this one, and every time I see this stupid RICEF W RICEF, whatever this is, it just makes my blood boil. Honestly, it's like blood. You can see it like rising up my eyeballs. It's and this blog in particular, it questions if this term is appropriate in the days of SAP Rise. I have no idea what it has to do with SAP Rise. I still have no clue what SAP Rise even is, to be honest. But this term, like, it's not appropriate like ever. I have such a hate like against this term as such, and even thinking about it, like what, first of all, what does this even mean? Why is this like some kind of a abbreviature? And because, for example, I compare like developers to doctors frequently because I think there are many parallels. But thinking about doctors, you don't hear. I mean, there might be like OBGYN, some shortening like that, because otherwise it's just very long word, like obstetrician, gynecologist. It's just very long, and there is a short form. But you don't see like I don't know, like leisures, rashes, and something blah blah blah, like 5-letter thing that means
Right.
5 different things that someone thinks come together in some way. And this would be applied like I'm like specialist in this crap. I don't know. So
Yeah.
to me, first of all, I think the term itself is just demeaning to developers, to the work that we do. It's in my experience, developers never really use this word. They might even put it on the resume, but it's only because it's a keyword that some recruiters use and some companies use. I have never heard developer use this word with any meaning, and everyone is
With
just
any,
yeah.
for sure, this is a term. So when I worked at Cargill, this was
Mhm.
a term that was tossed around, but it made my blood boil too because I had a manager or two levels up manager who was always saying things like, "Hey, Paul, you know what I really want to do is make sure that we need to make sure we have a solid rice factory. How do we make a rice factory?" And
My
like it
goodness.
makes me want to just die.
Yeah,
Like I don't want to
yeah,
do the same thing over and over again. I don't want to work in a factory. No, that's not hating on people who do work in factories.
yeah,
It's just not what I want to do.
yeah,
So this term reminds me of let's put things in a tiny box and just like kick it away and be done with it, right?
yeah,
And not basically not care.
yeah.
I don't know how else to put it, but
Yeah,
yeah, anyway,
the only time I've heard this used like in seriousness, not like in, sarcastic way like developers would, or any SAP professionals, that would be exactly clueless managers who just like to throw abbreviations like that around without understanding any meaning or what effect it has, or they just, I don't know, they just don't understand what it means at all, and
yeah,
they just say it because it's something they heard and they think it's cool. So the term is called SAP development. That's what it is.
yeah,
It can be so many things these days. I mean, obviously, yeah, this term is not appropriate in the days of SAP BTP, I would say, and this is what I think this original blog was talking about a little bit. Yeah, this original blog honestly isn't really great either, but it's not about the blog post quality. It's just about the terminology, I guess, and about understanding or rather misunderstanding of what SAP development means these days. And yeah, so no more RICEPs. That would be my, I guess, like tagline for that. I think if we could, if I could like never hear this again, like ever, that would be just awesome. I would love that. And I
Mhm.
see our buddy James Wood. Like James, what is wrong with you, dude?
No,
Modernize.
he's
He's just
he's advocating away
complacent
from it.
with it.
He's advocating away from it.
All right.
He's saying throw
Why?
away that term.
Why
Go
did you say
modern. Go
this curse
real.
word? This is, yeah, this should be like stricken like one of the
He's
words we don't say on TV.
he
That
he's
should be rise up.
I mean, he said the naughty word, right? But he's arguing away from it,
Away from
right?
it.
So
Okay. All
yeah.
right. I'll allow it. Okay.
Mhm.
All right. So no more rise up.
Shout out to
That's my,
James. There we go.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's my other piece. All right. So, and the last one. So this was a blog that kind of started it, but subject is not really the blog subject. It's again And I was kind of I was having internal debate whether this should be subject if it's like too soon or too frequently about the same damn thing. But this is where it got me. Like you can comment reviews on using API over iDocs or Buppies. And I'm like, dude, we've just been over it. I've just written the story about EDI versus API. There is no versus. There is no over.
Yeah.
This again like HTTP versus bananas kind of thing. Although, I mean, API versus Buppy is not as bad as EDI versus API, which is just totally different thing, but it is still, I just don't understand. I don't know if people like truly so dense that they just do not understand this, or it's just a product of some kind of propaganda. I don't know. I'm genuinely trying to understand why would this even come up as a question? And I mean, API part here is specifically APIs that are on SAP API Hub. So it's not like some kind of generic term. Those are like specific APIs. They are there. If you're creating some kind of web application like Fiori app or some other app, yeah, I mean, you can use them, but it's not a question like, oh, should I use Puppy if I can use API? No, you shouldn't. It's not a question that you would ask. If you can use APIs, if that's your scenario, but Puppies are just they're used in completely different cases. I mean, I'm not going to build a web application with Puppy if I can use API, but if I cannot, I mean, what other option do I have? It's just, I know it's just so glaring obvious to me, but if we keep hearing this type of questions, I don't know, maybe another clarification is in order here. So
Maybe
I don't know.
maybe we need to drop another nuke somewhere.
Yeah, exactly. So I think someone needs to put this straight. So that's my third subject, and yeah, I really would like people to understand better. I think many maybe still don't even understand what Buppies are, because remember, and Buppy is a function module. I mean, it's a special type of function module, but nevertheless, it is a function module. And I've heard like over the years on SCN, like way before like APIs and like OData and stuff, you would hear like Buppies, like it's some kind of separate entity, something like nebulous that does something much more. They're like, are there any like FM/Buppies? Like, I mean, Buppies are function module. You don't even need to ask really that. So it's fundamentally the same thing. It's just very special design, but that's all. So I don't know. I feel if that part didn't really sink in with developers so far, then what hope there is for APIs versus Buppies. All right. So I think that's it. So these are our 3 and 3
That's
stories.
what we're going to say.
Yeah.
It's going to be controversial. Jelena is going to make people mad.
Yeah, with Agile. Yeah.
We're going to get flamed.
Bring it on. All right. So that's all, folks. Thank you so much for watching, and watch us next time. Thank you.